questions that I get over and over again is, what genetic test should someone consider that is looking for answers to how genetic factors are playing into their chronic health issues? Other questions I hear is where to get these tests, how much they cost, and is there differences between one versus the other in terms of the information that someone is looking for to get those answers. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to go through the various testing options that are out there regarding the ability to get genetic data to determine how your biochemistry or break down your biochemistry can be a factor in why you are not recovering from these chronic health issues that you suffer with day in, day out. So we're going to go through things that are available to the public, things you have to get through practitioners, and talk about some of the pluses and minuses with each of these tests that are available so that you can make an educated and informed decision on what may be best for you. So what are the genetic testing options that are out there? So there's a lot of different possibilities when you're looking at things from a genetic standpoint. And here's the problem is a lot of people get introduced to this genetic stuff, maybe based on things that they're reading online, or worse yet, that maybe their doctor has checked specific genes, specifically MTHFR on them, and it's stopped at that. And that's an injustice because you can't make a educated and clinical decision based on nutrient status, the vitamins to take, how your biochemistry is working based on one gene alone. You need the whole picture. And so where people usually delve into next is determining, all right, how do I investigate this genetic story a little bit more in depth? And so one of the most common ways that is out there initially is some of the ancestry testing sites that are out there, such as 23andMe, ancestry.com. There's a handful of others that are available as well. But realize when these companies take a sample from you, take your DNA sample to assess your heritage, okay, where your family's from, things of that nature, they're looking at your biochemistry. They're looking at the genes that do things that make proteins and enzymes, basically how your biochemistry works. That helps classify you into those specific, lineages per se where you came from. Right. So a lot of people don't even understand that based on giving those samples to determine your ancestry, that raw data information is available, which can give you insight into your biochemistry. Things like MTHFR is on those gene cards or is in that sample that you give, along with thousands and thousands of other genes. Okay. So the price point on those is great. Most of them range from $49 to maybe $199. And it does give you a lot of information, but here's the problem is it is lacking some key genetic information that is out there. And another concern people have with sites like that is the privacy aspect, because there's rumors that these companies are selling the data to pharmaceutical companies, or selling this data to insurance companies, and that way you maybe get tagged where maybe you can't be insured in the future due to pre-existing components, things of that nature. So a lot of people have some kind of reservation about doing some of these ancestry tests. There's ways around it, but there's also better options that are available. And most of these options are available through healthcare practitioners. And so the other ones listed here, the functional genomic analysis test, there's other labs such as Doctor's Data, Genomics, that have genetic testing available that looks at pathways, that looks at methylation, how the body can detoxify, how the body can make and break down neurochemicals. So these tests look at some of those key genes. Now, my preference, the one that I use in my office, is actually the functional genomic analysis test through your genomic resource. And basically that gene card took all the information on the previous 23andMe, their current 23andMe, added some other information in there. It is probably, in my opinion, the most in-depth and comprehensive genetic test that's out there. And the great thing about genetic testing is you've got to do it once. It's not a test that you're going to redo over and over to see the changes. It's your genes. It's kind of the hand you were dealt. Okay, so this is a test that typically you do one time, and then you're done. All right, and it has that information there for now as well as for the future. The reason I like the functional genomic analysis test for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's very, very thorough. There's a lot of more privacy stipulations that are put in place. Everything's just pinned to a barcode in your sample, but also the reports that the software that was set up to interpret this data is very nice and user-friendly. Gives a lot of information. Now, a lot of times you do maybe need to hire a practitioner or somebody really educated to maybe walk you through that, but it does give you very similar health reporting to some of the other things that are out there that if you were to take 20 from your ancestry data and plug it into an interpretation platform that gives you similar reports, those reports are very similar, but in my opinion, I think the functional genomic analysis test is organized a lot better and gives you a lot more key information. All right, like I said, this is a test that typically is only available through healthcare practitioners. I will tell you this, though, it is available on our Your Genetic Type website. So if you go to yourgenetictype.com, go to the store, this is something that, by following us and listening to this video, you can order. And then what we do is we, when those results are ready, we email your report. And then if you need further assistance, then you can reach out to us or somebody else to walk you through that a little bit more. But if you're listening to this, you're watching other videos, you are becoming educated on taking your health back into your own hands to be able to train yourself to be able to decipher some of these reports and big picture, what are these key things and what does it mean? With that being said, you can take our, genetic unlock course that's going to walk you through how to read these reports, how to interpret these reports, the information you're looking for based on health concerns, previous diagnosis, things of that nature, which is invaluable. We really kind of laid that out very nicely. So I strongly recommend, consider taking that course as well once you have genetic data, or if you already have genetic data and you're watching this video, okay? The other tests that are out there, for instance, like doctor's data tests and genomics nutrition tests, those are tests that are available through practitioners only. And a lot of people maybe have done these in the past because it was kind of like when genetic stuff was a little bit more buzzworthy and kind of newer initially, and they didn't want to do 23-year ancestry. The problem with these tests is it's very, very limited information on it. They only look at 30 to 55 genes, depending on the test you're looking at, and they're like 2 to 3 times more the cost. So they're not very, not recommended because of the amount of information you get for the money, okay? So the great thing about the genomics was it was a cheek swab, but I'll tell you this now is the functional genomic analysis, the test we recommend is both a saliva sample and a cheek swab. So a lot of times if somebody's looking to do a genetic test on a little one and they can't spit in a tube, we have the ability now to do a cheek swab to get that information, which is great. And I think it's maybe a $20 or $30 difference to do a cheek swab versus a spit test on that. But the Your Genomic Resource functional genomic analysis test is by far the gold standard in my opinion. If you've previously already done 23-year ancestry, I really encourage you, if you haven't delved into that information, start with that, okay? Get that data uploaded to interpretation sites, take our Unlock course and decipher that information because it may give you the things you need. And then if it's lacking the information you need, then take the next step and do a more advanced test like the functional genomic analysis test. There's other tests out there a lot of doctors use, like the GeneSight test that contains genes like MTHFR and COMT, but this is more of a genetic test that's geared at medication classes that a lot of psychiatrists and medical doctors will look at to see how well you're metabolizing medications, specifically medications that affect brain function. If somebody's taking, medications to affect, conditions such as anxiety or depression and they're not working, a lot of times the medical doctor will run this test to determine, are you taking the best classification, okay? So a lot of people come to me and they say, oh, I've had my genetics ran by their doctor and it's a GeneSight test. Well, that's great information on medication component, but regards to looking at where your genetic type is and chronic health issues you may have, there's limitations because it gives us really 2 genes that deal with methylation and neurotransmitter activity, and that's not nearly enough to make a educated and clinical decision on how genetics is playing into this, okay? So there's other labs that are out there as well. These are some of the ones that are the usual suspects that we see. Majority of the people that I work with have either not done genetics yet, or they've previously done 23andMe or ancestry.com, which is fine. We usually start with that, but you gotta understand that there's differences between these tests. And if it's now with the information that is out there, I strongly would recommend the functional genomic analysis test. As of right now, it is the gold standard. There's some newer ones that are coming out soon. The Strategy has come out with their own test. I haven't seen that. I don't know how in depth it's going to be. But as of right now, the functional genomic analysis test is the way to go unless you've previously done some genetic testing, okay? Big picture with this is understanding how your genetics plays into your chronic health issues is so invaluable because what it does is it gives us the roadmap of how your specific biochemistry works for you, the individual, okay? And so we don't get into putting people like in cookie cutter protocols with this. We understand your specific biochemistry, that roadmap, and specifically where the highway narrows down, where there's a higher likelihood or genetic genetic likelihood of where the road can narrow down, creating a lot of congestion and traffic, which then leads to the symptoms that we experience day in, day out. All right, so I hope this video was very educational, informational, and maybe answer some questions you have on the type of genetic tests that are out there. If you have any questions, you can always leave comments, but I strongly recommend, if you have not done genetic testing before and you suffer with a chronic health condition and are still looking for answers, you probably need to delve into genetic factors to give you a roadmap of how your biochemistry is working. And we strongly recommend doing that functional genomic analysis test. It's something that's only a couple $100, I think $300 maybe. So strongly encourage you to take a look at that. And that a lot of times will give you some missing answers to some of the questions that you're asking day in, day out to yourself, to doctors, things of that nature. So I hope you learned a little bit, and we'll see you next time.